Ethan Pierce wasn't the type to scare easy. He was a freelance nature photographer, used to long hikes, empty forests, even nights in the middle of nowhere. So when he found a cozy cabin listed on Airbnb in a quiet upstate New York town called Windmere Hollow, it seemed perfect. Rustic charm, wooded surroundings, a stone fireplace and old piano in the listing photos. It was cheap too, cheaper than it should have been. But the photos looked real, the reviews were glowing, and the host, Nora, had a verified badge. It was just what he needed to finish his photo book in peace. Or so he thought. Ethan arrived at the house at 3:14 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday in late October. Leaves swirled across the gravel drive, the kind of scene that makes you want to pour a hot drink and curl up with a book. The cabin was exactly like the pictures. Dark cedar siding, faded red shutters, and an old wind chime dangling from the porch roof, clinking gently in the wind. He parked, grabbed his bag, walked up the porch steps. The front door creaked open easily. No keypad, no smart lock. Just a regular old handle. The inside was a bit dusty, but not in a creepy way. It just felt old. Lived in once, maybe recently. A faint smell of firewood and mothballs hung in the air. He noticed a bowl of fake fruit on the table, a cross-stitch reading, "Home is where the heart is," on the wall, and a TV with a thick back, the kind people stopped using 15 years ago. But none of it set off alarms. Not yet. That first night, Ethan made dinner, set up his laptop, and began editing some landscape shots. Around 9:40 p.m., the power flickered. Briefly, just a few seconds, long enough to make his heart skip, but not long enough to feel unnatural. It was an old house in the woods. That happens, right? The next morning, while sipping coffee on the porch, a man in his 60s walked by with a golden retriever. He looked at Ethan, paused, and frowned. "You renting this place?" the man asked, eyeing him like he was an intruder. "Yeah," Ethan replied, "Airbnb, just for a few days." The man's face changed. Not angry, not skeptical, just confused. "That place has been empty since the Taylors moved out in '05, he said. "Hasn't been listed for sale or rent since." "You sure?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, laughing awkwardly. "Well, someone's hosting it. Name's Nora." The man scratched his head, then looked down at his dog. "Ain't no Nora ever lived here. Only people I knew in that house were Dean and Marla Taylor. They left after their daughter went missing. Real sad story." "Daughter?" The man nodded. 10 years old. Went missing Halloween night. Whole town searched the woods. Never found her." Ethan felt something shift in his chest. "Jesus." The man stepped off the road. "You be careful in there, alright? That place, it don't feel right." That evening, Ethan pulled up his Airbnb app again. The message was still there. "Your trip to Windmere Hollow begins today." He clicked the listing. It loaded normally. Same photos, same reviews. He even messaged Nora just to say he was settled in and thanks for the hospitality. No reply. No problem, he thought. Some hosts just didn't respond much. Maybe she was older. That night though, things felt different. Around midnight, he heard footsteps above him. Slow, deliberate, but the cabin was only one story. He froze. The footsteps continued. He looked up at the wooden ceiling. No attic door, no second floor, just a roof. He grabbed the old poker from the fireplace and crept room to room. Nothing. Every door stood open, every shadow just a shadow. Maybe the house was settling. Or maybe his mind was just too eager to explain it all away. But the footsteps kept returning. Every night, always after midnight. By the fourth night, Ethan couldn't sleep. On Thursday morning, Ethan walked down to the diner at the corner of Main and Elderberry. Small place, only a few locals inside. He brought his camera, hoping to take a few fall shots after breakfast. When the waitress, a middle-aged woman with a kind smile, came to take his order, he mentioned the Airbnb. Her face went pale. "You're saying you're staying in the old Taylor cabin?" He nodded. "Honey, that place ain't on Airbnb. I booked it, paid for it, got a receipt. Let me see." Ethan opened his phone, pulled up the app, tapped into the trip, but what loaded wasn't what he expected. There was no listing, no Nora, no receipt. The app simply said, "No reservation found." Like it never existed. Ethan stared at the screen, trying to breathe. No, it was just here. I literally messaged the host 3 days ago." The waitress leaned closer, whispering now. "There was a story, you know, about that girl who went missing. People said the house changed after she disappeared. Some said she never left. Others, Well, others think someone kept her there. That she died in that house. Ethan left his breakfast uneaten. He rushed back to the cabin, pulled out his laptop, tried finding the listing again through his browser. Nothing. He searched for the host's name. Nothing. Even his messages to her were gone. Deleted. Like they'd never been sent. He looked around the cabin with fresh eyes now. Dust on the table, a spiderweb stretching across a corner of the ceiling. A family photo still on the wall. He stared at it. A man, a woman, a little girl. The photo looked 30 years old. The little girl had the same brown curls as the face that had briefly appeared in the dusty hallway mirror the night before. He'd thought it was his imagination. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on the couch with his camera, waiting, hoping to catch whatever had been walking above him. Hours passed. Then, at 3:12 a.m., the front door slowly creaked open. No wind, no animals, just the door. Ethan held his breath, snapped photos, flash after flash, and then, in one of them, a figure. Standing in the hallway, a small girl, no older than 10, barefoot, in a torn Halloween costume. Her eyes dark, lifeless. Her mouth open, but no sound coming out. Ethan dropped the camera. When he looked again, she was gone. He bolted for the car. Didn't pack, didn't lock the door, drove 6 hours straight back to the city. He called Airbnb. They had no record of any booking. No listing, no Nora. They even asked him to send screenshots. But his app had reset. The trip history was wiped. Ethan posted about it online, hoping someone had a similar experience. Nothing. Until 2 weeks later, when a man messaged him privately. I know that house. I stayed there in 2017. Same thing happened. Same girl. But my app crashed when I tried to screenshot. They told me it was a system bug. The man sent one grainy photo, an old mirror, covered in dust, and in the reflection, the silhouette of a child, just barely visible in the doorway behind him. Ethan hasn't gone back, but sometimes, late at night, he still checks the Airbnb app. Not for trips, not for listings, for that house. Because once, just once, the listing reappeared. For 10 seconds. Same photos, same reviews, same host, Nora. But this time, the description ended with a sentence Ethan hadn't seen before. Come home, little one. You've always belonged here. He deleted the app, moved cities, and he doesn't talk about Windmere Hollow anymore. But sometimes, when the wind rattles the windows, he swears he hears a little girl's voice whispering from the other side of the glass. Why did you leave me?